Okay. Any question want to ask? Yeah. Ah, 10 macam ni lah, apa nama ni, 10 to 20 pages lah. Senang. 10 to 20 pages. Okay. Sekali lah masuk reference lah. Reference tak banyak je kan. Lain, any more questions?
Sir,
Yeah.
ikan yang report untuk talk tu, still pakai format yang sama kan, yang sebagi tu kan?
Format sama.
Alright.
Apa nama ni, tapi saya ada tambahan tu kan, ada penambahan kan. Nanti nak dalam WhatsApp tu.
Okay, nanti saya ni balik.
Saya boleh WhatsApp dia. Ada pertambahan because dalam tu dia tak cerita, tak ada summary cerita on the talk lah. Faham tak? Dia ada bagi slide awak tak? Slide.
Tak bagi lagi saya, nanti saya minta lah.
Kalau ada slide, bagi slide sekali lah.
Okay. Right, thank you sir.
Ataupun you can ni lah, macam slide tu kan. You can print screen dan edit kan. Ini masuk dalam satu, masuk sekali dalam tu lah. Kan dalam report.
Alright sir.
Siapa ni?
Farhan.
Farhan, Iqbal bersama Iqbal Iqbal. Ada Iqbal? Iqbal ada? Siapa grup Iqbal? Siapa ada grup Iqbal ni? Grup A lah.
Saya grup sekali dengan Iqbal.
Okay, good.
Saya dah submit dah report semalam.
Ada masuk tak dalam slide tu, slide dia?
Ada.
You ni you print screen
Tak, saya masukkan dalam Google Drive, lepas tu saya letak link.
Okay lah. Kalau saya duduknya nanti, you boleh masuk dalam tu tak, report tu? Boleh masuk dalam report tak, slide tu?
Masuk dalam report?
Page slide tu kan, masuk dalam report sekali. Boleh?
Saya letak link slide tu dalam report.
Link slide Tak, dalam report tu you boleh tambah tak? Tak apalah, you tambah balik, submit balik. Boleh sebab nanti senang auditor nak check kan. Kalau bagi link kan takut payah sikit ni dia nak check. So bagi sekali dalam report tu senang. Okay. Same also for group 3 nanti Group 3 punya report. Kita ada satu lagi talk kan?
Yes sir.
Okay, good. Kalau boleh dalam report tu you buat table of content saja. Table of content Farhan, apa nama tadi? Farhan kan?
Boleh.
Table of content Yasmin sekali pun tambah table of content. Jadi nampak professional sikit Okay Yasmin?
Okay doktor.
Good. Any more question regarding the assignment or regarding the anything? Hopefully you start reading the slide Okay. Today we try to finish our IMO and also masuk slide baru. If no question, I begin the class. Right. Okay. All right. So we've gone through the instruments for IMO, whereby we have highlighted, we have touched about conventions. Convention is the most important instrument for IMO. The other one is protocol, amendments, recommendation, and resolutions. Right, protocol is an important instrument used by IMO to introduce changes to conventions. Okay, protocol helps to initiate changes. As you all know, for the committees under IMO, they always keep on improving the safety, the environmental safety, right? The navigational aids, navigational techniques or whatever. So they keep on improving and updating the progress of the safety initiative. So how they introduce new things? The new thing introduced by getting experience from cases that happen or disasters or accident happens. So from that they develop new protocols to deal with if they don't have it yet. So they try to. That's why they keep on improving. Kaizen, continuous improving. Right. How to improve? They introduce it through protocols. Right. So protocol will help in changes to conventions. Changes meaning that add up to add up new things, ataupun changes all regulations or all procedures that is not relevant because of new technologies are coming in. Okay, so they omit the old procedures. It can be changing the old procedures to a new one, or it can be introducing a new things, right? New procedures, right? New procedures can be changes of the old procedures to a new one, or totally a new procedures. Okay, which are already adopted but not yet entered into force. Usually, when you come to conventions, they have enforced it. They have enforced it, but usually protocol they start apply but not enforce. Right? Usually for protocol and others lah. Some instruction, some recommendation, or some apa nama ni codes helping is introduced to help to understand better on the conventions, how the convention should be applied, right? For example, SOLAS Convention 1974 was amended twice using protocols, right? So SOLAS Convention Save of Life at Sea been introduced. The convention been enforced in 1974, right? But in 1978, due to certain development in the area of SOLAS, so in 1978, they introduced SOLAS Protocol, which entered into force in May 1981. And by 1988, SOLAS Protocol, which entered into force on 3rd February 2000. Right? Both the protocols are known as SOLAS 7478, SOLAS 7488. So there are two protocols here. So first one is being introduced in 1978, but enforced 1981. The other one is introduced 1988, enforced 2000. Right? But the extra the protocols when mentioned mentioned together with conventions, we can see the SOLAS 74, 78, and SOLAS 74, 88. So this 88 is the first time the protocol being introduced. But when it comes to enforcement, it's different year. You can see how far from introduction to enforcement, 78 to 88, 88 to 2000. So takes time because you must all remember, IMO members are country members. Not all country members are rich, are advanced in terms of knowledge, in terms of technology, right? So it takes time to enforce, right? Even that also, when the convention, like for example, IMO 2020 conventions on green bunker, they been introduced way before than before 2020. But even when they've been enforced in 2020, not all country members endorse it. But majority endorse it, but not all, because they are not ready for that. Because to change to bunker to sustainable bunker, it incur cost, right? So maybe it's difficult for the ship owner ataupun the country members to enforce to their ship owners, to their ship owners associations because of financial constraint. Okay, not all are the same economically. Like for example, 2020 also been not all applied it yet. There be some grace period because of the pandemic effect. Many countries are economically affected. But for developed countries like the Europes, US, and China is considering development no more miskin. China no more miskin. China is more rich, is richer than US now, right? So no more no more underdeveloped. It's developed, developed with ED, meaning they already maju lah, kan? Developing is going to maju, right? Right. So most of the country, the developed country can already accept it and enforce it, but other countries still need for delay, right? Postponement, right? Then amendments. Amendments are major changes that are brought into action in the protocols. So amendments are changes being brought to convention by using protocol. Meaning the amendment lead to protocol, protocol leads to conventions. So these are the things that keep on changing, keep on improving, changing to the betterment, right? They are professionals, so they look for the better ways, how to enhance safety, how to sustain the environment more, how to navigate efficiently, how to avoid disaster or natural disaster, right? All those things. For example, because of several accidents at sea, there was an urgent need to change the MAPOL, Marine Pollutions, 1973 Convention in 1970s. These changes or amendments were brought into action by the Combined Convention Protocol Instrument called MAPOL 73-78 on 2nd October 1983. Jadi kan, the SOLAS 74-78. Yang ni MAPOL 73, MAPOL 73 Convention begin enforced in 1973. So there's new amendments that lead by the protocols in 78. So they call it MAPOL 73-78. So okay, understand? The recommendation code and guideline for the same. All right, you can read that. It's quite long. The coding, the recommendation and coding is same also. They have the amendments, the guidelines, everything. And then this one, when been applied in certain countries, when this thing is good, the effect is good, they will introduce it to protocols, to amendments, then to protocols, then conventions. Convention add up. They change the conventions to add up with new things under all these recommendation codes and guidelines. There are many codes. The IBC code, example, ISM code, International Safety Maritime, bukan ISM. And then IBC, International Bulk Cargo ke bukan? Okay. So these are the instruments of IMO. The last one is the resolutions. So resolution actually is related to conventions. Resolution are the final document which are accepted by IMO or any body under IMO. So the general result of an agreement of accommodation and amendment. Convention ni memang enforced by IMO, but certain members they still don't want to accept it, to endorse it. So they still they must accept, but the time that time is not ready to accept. So they must wait, right? Until they're ready, they will accept it. But initially, they know that they need to follow these things. Because this is not an authoritative body, right? Not enforcing the members, but the convention is enforced because to ensure that all members take note how the seriousness of the issue, and they need to endorse later on to enforce. Okay, so then they need to make resolutions to enforce it, to accept it and enforce it. All right. So these are the some examples of IMO convention. The many conventions involved. The one of it is the most popular one. The Asolas, 1974. MAPOL, 1973. Right. The case referred is Tory Canyon. The Tory Canyon case. Right. And then it's about International Convention on Standard of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping of for seafarers. Watchkeeping. Watchkeeping is what? Watchkeeping is seafarers that that need to monitor or need to be alert at the bridge, at the what they call it, the bridge, the operation room at the top of the at the top the center of ships in the captain's room captain operation rooms so the seafarers must always be alert inside there 24 hours. So this is about watchkeeping to keep the ships in movement safety and the security of the ships. Okay. Right. The other thing is Convention on International Regulation for Preventing Collision at Sea. Correct. 1972. Fall 1965. Facilitation of international maritime traffic. How the traffic for maritime been reconciled between countries, members. As you all know, maritime involve world routes and world routes, world route straits. So you must remember that when you talk about world routes, laluan international, international routes, it involve many countries, right? So you need to facilitate the process of traffic. Then ILL load line conventions, the Plimsoll line. You remember Plimsoll line? So this is the convention on load lines. Then the search and rescue SAR, Convention on Search and Rescue. Convention on Suppression of Unlawful Act Against the Safety of Maritime Navigation. Protocol for the Suppression of Unlawful Acts, right? Convention for Offset Containers. Later on, you can click on this. You can check the detail, what it's all about. Nampak ada the link, ada provide link dah. You can read lah, if you want to know more. Right. Banyak IMC, MSO, Maritime Convention on Maritime Satellite Organizations using satellite. What they call it? GPS location. For safety of fishing vessels, standard of training, certification, and watchkeeping, they improve, right? Special trade passenger ships, all these are conventions. Very detailed. There's a lot of conventions. Interventions. Intervention is about international convention relating to intervention on high seas in cases of oil pollution casualties. Ni maksudnya kalau ada oil spill, what happen? They will go and integrated effort by many countries involved affected by the oil spill. Itu cara dia, ada cara dia. So in the convention they mention lah. Conventions of prevention of maritime pollution by dumping of waste and other matter, not only oil spill, but dumping of waste. Ni like mentioned before, right? Dumping of waste meaning that waste of the ship. It can be rubbish, physical waste. It can be liquid waste. Liquid waste like sewer water, not treated sewer, and then like engine oil, used engine oil, right? That one also considering waste. It's not oil spill. Because oil spill usually is accidents or unintentionally unintentionally happen. But for waste is purpose lah. Waste kan has buang, awak dah tahu itu waste, dia buang juga dalam laut kan. Itu purposely do that. That one is very bad and it's wrong. Even oil spill, if you are even unintentional, is also is also a fault. Something wrong. Something shouldn't be that shouldn't happen. Although it's unintentionally, but it shouldn't be happen. Oil spill, but waste is purposely done by the crew, right? Maybe the ship owner doesn't know it, but the crew do it. Right? Then oil pollution preparedness, response and cooperation. This is equivalent, goes together with intervention, or PRC. Well, like it just now, all countries involved work toward the disaster mitigations of the oil spill. And then OPRC HNS protocol, hazardous and noxious substances 2000. Anti-fouling systems. This is one of the pollution given by the shipping, by the ships. Due to fouling system. Fouling is a pollution, is not pollution, is something, is the negative effect of having a ship in the water all the time. Meaning that when you put a ship in the sea, in the water, sea water, right, the ship will stay in the water until the end of their life, right? So just imagine how long the ship will be staying in the seawater. So because the time durations staying in the water, the ship body at the lower part of the lower part of the hull that always submerged in the water, in the seawater, will develop many sea creatures was stuck to these ships. Macam terumbu karang, reef, many reef, seawater reef akan melekat, stick to the ship body at the bottom. So that will affect the performance of the ships, efficiency of the ships. So they need to be clean, accordingly based on the time. Maybe once a year, twice a year, right? It depends. But the cleaning process, they use chemical that will affect the sea creatures, sea microorganisms. That's what the anti-fouling. When you spray the chemical will go back to the seawater, and it will damage the microorganisms. That's what they call the anti-fouling system, right? It's about the chemical they use to anti-fouling, to clean the port. Right? International Convention for the Control and Management of Ships, Ballast Water and Sediments. Ni ballast water ni is all ships have ballast water. Ballast water ni is water that been used for balancing the ships. They take the seawater to put in the ships and to balance it out, to balance the ships. And usually this ballast water will be retained in the ship body, in the ship tank, for quite some time until they develop alien microorganisms. Meaning that you stay in the tank for the duration is long. And until you in the tank, they never see the sun or whatever, right? Just kept in the tank. At the end, they develop a new alienated microorganisms. When they release the water in the sea, this microorganism will dominate other microorganisms in the sea, the natural organisms. That what happened. You remember the red algae in the sea. that happens now and then at the sea water or the beaches, near the beaches. So when this happen, it's poisonous to the seafood, sea creatures. These sea creatures eat the algae, fine, and then the fishermen take the fish ataupun the seafood from the sea and then sell it to you, and you cook it and eat it. And what happen? You get poisons. That's why sometimes you eat the seafood, you get stomach ache, right? You vomit, right? Diarrhea, because of this kind of things. So be careful. Usually, when the red algae is there, it can be red, right? It can be other colors, but algae is meaning that it's not. It's beautiful, maybe because it's red or pinkish, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous. They are different. They are alien microorganisms that dominate the sea and in the area lah. Usually, when that happen, the fishery department will announce in the media, don't consume cockerels, don't consume seafood from this period to this period from this area, because it was mostly is poisonous. Some cases of that happen also. Depends on the degree of poison that they're taking from the seafood. So remember, seafood not always safe. You must be careful, right? Sometimes you say you don't take the seafood, but you boil it to get the stock from the seafood, right? So you know the stock from the seafood is nice to eat, right? Sweet, taste, apa? Stock panggil apa bahasa Melayu? Macam sup lah, macam sup from seafood kan. So sekarang bila masak sup ke atau kerang ke apa kan, dia manis kan. Some people don't eat the kerang, but they consume the soup. It's sweet, right? But if you do that also, you get poisonous because the water, the liquid from the cockerels kerang tu akan keluar because panas kan, you masak you boil, and then you be the stock of it, and then you drink the stock, you consume the stock, you also get poison from the seafood. So that's why they have control on ship ballast water and sediments. Sediments ni macam bahan-bahan dalam ballast water tu. Right? The Hong Kong International Convention for Safety and Environmental Sound, recycling of ships. This is about recycling of ships. Even dismantling of ships ada, right? Discharging of ships, right? Banyak convention yang berapa? Too many conventions. There's a lot. This is only some of it. CLC, FUN, Maritime Carriage of Nuclear Material, POL, Carriage of Passenger, LLMC, HNS, Hazardous Noxious Substances, Bunker Oil Pollution Damage Conventions, Removal of wreck. Wreck ni maksudnya macam discharge of ships lah. Yang ada kadang ship ni yang tak pakai dia tenggelamkan. Jadi macam satu masalah tu environment kan, wrecks. Wreck ni macam yang dah tak pakai kan. Removal of wrecks. Tonnage measurement ships, salvage ni maybe it's a ship that need to be salvaged from accidents or disasters. So you can see how detailed is IMO. This is a part of it only. There's many more recommendation codes, amendments, protocol that involve. This is just convention, right? You just imagine how many. How serious is IMO on ensuring the safety and security of the ships, the crews, the cargo, and also the environment, right? So this is about it. So that's finished on IMO. Any question on IMO? Any question on IMO? Yeah, any question? Yu Yao. Where's Yu Yao?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
You have any question?
No question. If I have question, I will ask.
You understand?
Yes. Sometimes I understand.
But no question.
Yeah.
Dafa? Good.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. Any question?
For me, no, sir.
You understand?
Partly understand, but
But no
like
question.
always, I record it. I record it manually. So if I didn't know what part I didn't understand, like I can replay what I recorded.
Okay, good. Good. All right. So, excuse me, I need to go to toilet for a while. So you also can go to toilet if you want to go. We excuse for 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Okay. So we continue our class. All still there? Still in the room? Huh? Are you still in the room?
Yes, sir.
Ada, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we continue with new slide, new topic. Okay, we jump to maritime pollution, right? So as you all know, the IMO, one of our main IMO goals is to preserve, right? To preserve the environment, right? To make the environment to be more sustainable, so that it will preserve the environment. So that is one of the goals of IMO, the most important one. Safety to the environment. Safe to the environment, right? So that's why there's many measures now taken to ensure to sustain and preserve the environment for the future generations, right? So this effort or initiative is being expedited due to the climate changes, climate change. So you can see now all around the world, there are many natural disasters. Most importantly, referring to flooding, right? Not only in Malaysia, in KL or in Malaysia, but all over the world, they are flooding at the unprecedented level, meaning that level yang tak pernah laku sebelum ni, never ever before like this, right? Example in Europe before last year, right? In Germany, and in China, in India, in Malaysia. Okay, so many untoward happenings that lead to climate change, that have affected the livelihood of the people in those countries. For example, like in our countries, before we come to the end of the 2021, we got a natural disaster that is never before or never thinkable about, unthinkable, right? Unthinkable disaster. Like just imagine in the city center, the flooding is so great that everything along the way of the rivers finished. Houses been flown away, right? People have left behind with no houses, no amenities anymore, no costumes, no clothes to wear, no food to eat in the city itself. In Kampung Seri Muda in the city, right? And most of KL area, and also in Pahang, never before it's just the river explode to unprecedented punya apa size river. Water river flow very fast, very big, and throw in all the shelly along the rivers, right? And bring with them all the timbers, timber logging from I don't know where, but it goes through the river and hit the houses, even hit the people, and many people dies. Never before in Malaysia, 50 plus people die because of flood. Last year, yes, it happened, right? So it's crazy. Yeah? So that's why, and not only in Malaysia, but all over the world. In US, there's tornadoes. There's tornadoes, the hurricanes that come unaware of, suddenly they came and kill people, right? Why you see cases of tornado and hurricane in the US less fatalities, because they can predict, they can predict correctly. The threshold of happening is very close. 95% will happen. So the prediction and forecasting method they use and equipment they use are very good, right? They can predict close to 95% happening. Right. That's why they can avoid fatalities. They can put away all the people right to one center, right? They can get ready about that. But it happened case that suddenly the tornado, example in I think where I don't remember the place, they got it offhand. Suddenly at night the tornado come and clear the houses everywhere along the way. So there's one or two, I think, one to 10 people die because of that. Why this happening? Right. In Malaysia, the meteorological predictions, maybe not 95% correct, but maybe 80% correct, right? Or 70% correct. We must able the authorities must be able to provide a more closer accuracy, like in the US, right? 95%, 97% correct. It will happen. Then people will get ready, right? People will be more serious on the meteorological report. But if the threshold of accuracy is bigger, then maybe people ignore, right? First time predict, not happening, ignore. Second time, not happening, ignore. Then people just don't bother. Suddenly it happens, right? And then people got offhand, shocked, and then that's happened in KL, right? People are not ready, right, for that matter. That's why the meteorological department, the authority must also have a very up-to-date equipment and forecasting techniques and applications or program that can predict although it's prediction forecasting, but they need to forecast it accurately lah. The most accurate we can. 95% is good enough, right? For example, right? So that is the thing that they need to improve lah. Okay. So pollution is a very important thing in nowadays. So because of that, it's very important. Many developed countries, even China itself, is looking for preserving the environment because China is getting well-developed countries now. When you are developed countries, you are rich, then you can think more about the environment, right? When your country is poor, right? Like India is poor. India is poor. Although there are many millionaires in India, but the sharing of cake is not what equivalent, not equitable. So there's many poor people in India, right? So that's why you cannot talk about preserving the environment too much because people make a living to live only, right? People make a living just to live day to day. But in China, maybe people are rich now, so they can think and talk about preserving the environment. Same like in developed countries in Europe, in US. That's why. And Malaysia is towards that. Indonesia also is towards that, towards become a rich country. So they can talk about preservation. How you want to talk about preserving the environment if you are day-to-day life depending on cutting trees, right? Understand? So you cannot talk about that. They want to make a living only to survive, to work as a cutting trees, right? Ataupun work in terms of maybe affecting the environment, the job. Because they want to survive, right? They must make a living, so they cannot think about sustainability. But when you are rich country, your people are rich, then you can start thinking about it, right? You can appreciate more. That's the reason why most yang think about saving the environment ni people yang from rich country, faham tak? Yang country yang tak miskin, yang tak kaya ni dia susah. Dia selalu nak hidup je kan, hidup cukup makan cukup lah kan. Tak kira lah sustain tak sustain environment kan. Faham tak? That is difficult for them to appreciate sustainable. That's why we need to be a rich country, a developed country to accept all these things. Alright, talking about maritime transport, definitely maritime transport, not a major contributors of pollution, not a big one as compared to road transport lah. Because road transport is everywhere in the world, right? People use it. Most population use it, door-to-door service, the best door-to-door service, road transport. But for maritime, is for trading, world trade service. Not many, around 6,000 plus ships ataupun more than that, moving around every day. All right. So the problem with shipping is the amount, the magnitude of emissions, poisonous emissions that really affecting, degrading, depleting the environment. That is great, right? From maritime, right? The level of emissions that come out, the toxicity is great. Okay. Then the pollution is not only to the air but also to the sea, right? To the sea, right? So this most important because sea is very important to the world. For 70% of the world is sea, right? Right. So the world actually undeniable is depending on the sea, right? For livelihood, not only for maritime transportations, but for others. Just imagine all the rivers going to the sea. I told before, right? The rivers is fresh water. The sea is salt water. So sea is very important to neutralize all the things, the sediments, the liquid from the rivers to the sea. You just imagine, remember the Kim River, the polluted rivers, all come out to the sea. But when come to the sea, they neutralize. Right. That is the rule of the sea. Important. Right. So you cannot damage the sea. You must preserve the sea so that it always be important to the people of the world. Right. Okay. So in Malaysia, maritime transport in Malaysia is about these two agencies, Jabatan Laut Malaysia and APMM. APMM is in Malay, Agensi Pengangkutan Maritime Malaysia, ataupun dipanggil apa? Coast Guard. Coast Guard. In the US, they call it Coast Guard. Alright. Dia boleh kawal coastal waters, and also dia punya authority tu, enforcement tu not only intruders, but also other marine punya pollution, so they could take care of. Dia hanya area in coastal waters. Other than that is Navy punya authority lah. Navy, tentera laut. Right. Jabatan Laut ni covers most aspect of navigations of the sea in the coastal waters, and also govern the operations of ports, right? Fishermen, fishing, right? All those things. So they cover many aspects of the marine industry. Okay. APMM cover in the waters only. Jabatan Laut covers from the mainland everything about the sea, right? Affecting the country, right? Navy covers beyond that, beyond the coastal waters. They call it FPZ. FPZ. So FPZ waters, and not FPZ, EEZ waters, economic, EEZ economy apa zone lah. Dia ada lupa nanti check, give you back. Right, their waters is way beyond the coastal waters. Right. Okay. Ni dah cerita kan environmental climate change pollution. You can read this one. Ada cerita dah. Right. So the government need to address the issue of environmental protections because of the pressure group by NGOs, and also the most important thing is we are the members, the category 2 members, category B members of IMO, right? So we need to follow IMO punya requirements, request. Ni, I boleh cakap kan dah keluar. Right. Alright, there are types of pollution from shipping. There are 4 types. The 4 types. One, the most important and most carried out pollution by ships are emissions. Emissions meaning that the air that the residual that the ships leaching out from the ships, meaning that the residual of the engines, the combustion engines. That's why IMO 2020 encourage on using more green engines. Green engine will use green bunker. They will produce less polluted or poisonous or toxic emission, right? Okay, combustion engines usually produce residual of emission like CO2, sulfur oxides, and NO, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matters. Debris of the emission, particulate matters, debris, something that is small to see from your eyes. Particulate, but it's there, but you cannot see it with your eyes. That's too small. At present, no targets have been set to limit or reduce CO2. Yes, now I think they have decided the target, because those days it's hard to measure the target of emissions from ships. But now they can measure it through carbon footprint, through the carbon per ton weight, right, released by the ships. So these are the thing, new measurement that come out to measure the impact of the emissions to the air. In 2007, this is way back seven, emitted 870 million. That's why, if you observe, for the other topic before this, I have a new slide, because this new slide will be based on the current statistics, the most current statistics. But this slide is quite some time, so maybe this year is quite far from the current years. I in the process of changing this slide now. Maybe your junior will have a new slide. Okay. So in 2027, the shipping emitted 870 million tons equivalent of global emission CO2. So this one is way before, right? Now this ship is getting more and more, and also getting more efficient, the engines, right? Although they still use fossil fuel as bunker, but the engine is more efficient. New engine is more efficient, releasing less residual as compared to old engines, right? Same like cars also, right? New cars, the gas or exhaust gas is lesser, right? You cannot see the gas of exhaust gas from a new car. But old engine car, you can see now, sometimes it's very white, like what? Like fogging machine, right? The exhaust gas come out from the car or the motorcycle. Motorcycle is satu kan, memang banyak asap keluar, especially if you use 2T engine, 2T motor, banyak asap mengganggu, memang mengganggu. Walaupun asap dia not that noxious or toxic compared to shipping, but it's still bad to the environment, bad to the people breathe, right? So that is the amount, but it's way back ago, right? But now it's more, even more, or maintained because of the engine they use in new ships. But you must remember, ships can last for 30 years. So one ship can last for 30 years, right? So that's why there still exist old ships still being used for freight in the world now. Still a lot, still a lot. So they use the old engine, so the emission is great. It's higher than the new one, right? But maybe later on we have a new ships replacing the old ships, because usually when they invest for ships, they see a few billions dollars. When they get the return, the break-even point or the profit from the ships operations, maybe they will discharge the ships, ataupun they sell the ship to other one. They have a new one, right? Because new ship is more efficient and it will lead to less cost to operate. Why you need to have an efficient ship? Because it will lead to less cost to operate. Right? It's also about CO2. This one baru kan. In the absence of regulation, CO2 emission is predicted to rise to 6% of the total global emissions by 2020. CO2 nya emissions. 6%, walaupun 6%, tapi the magnitude is high, it's big. Merchant shipping is the most carbon efficient mode of transportation compared to land and air. Alright, so itu like efficient ships emit less exhaust smoke, exhaust gas, and also less toxic. Okay. No matter what, either you ship or car or lorries or rail, train. If you use combustion engines, if you are new engines, you have more efficient, less polluted compared to the old engines. All right. So because of trading is get increased and ever increase, now come to trillion value of trading. World trade come up to trillions of dollars. No more billion and trillion. 1,000 million is 1 billion. 1,000 billion is 1 trillion. So if we talk about 3 trillion, 4 trillion, meaning that meaning that 3,000 billions equal to 3 trillions. So just imagine the magnitude of trades. Okay. So now I think currently they reached to 1.1 trillion. So maybe in future we go up to other trillions, 4 5 trillions. Later on, I don't know when, we'll come to zillion. Million, billion, trillion, zillion. Those days you had to get billionaire, right? Mostly it's multi-millionaire. But in 1990s, I think 1990s onward, they start calling billionaires, right? Then later on, maybe you have a trillionaires, right? So it depends on the world trade punya amount size, okay? So these are the things that will lead to more ships being built, more ships being operated to move the demand and supply from the consumers in the world, right? When the ship is getting more and more, then the amount of emissions getting more also, right? What the IMO want to encourage is that it's better to have more ships with with sustainable bunker as to more ship with fossil fuel. So it's sustainable bunker, meaning that it will protect the environment. The environment punya depletion will be lesser, will be slower, or maybe even stop. If all mode of transportation use EV, electric, faham tak? So tak adalah pencemaran udara yang paling, because the most major contributors is from the transport sector, right? Transport sector and factory sector, manufacturing sector. But if all reverse back to sustainable power, sustainable supply of resource or the power, definitely it will stop the depletions of the ozone. And with all the new trees being planted, it will hopefully sustain the environment, or even repair the environment ataupun correct whatever have been done before to back to square one, the environment positions before the embarkment of industrial revolution, right? Due to industrial revolution, banyak buang emitted to the air, the emission from the factories, and because the activity of factories increase, activities of transportation increase. So all these things have happening for the last 100 years, 200 years. So how you can see, you can just imagine the impact to the environment. Okay. Panjang sangat ni. Okay. And other than emission from pollution from the engines which have been emitted in the air, the other activities in maritime also affect the pollution. Some of it, such as the port operations, right, whereby at the ports many trucks, trailers are using to move around the cargo, the container, right? They using what? Using trucks, right? Using cranes. Cranes are moving cranes, gantry crane, stacker cranes, and all moving around, all using fossil fuel. Truck using fossil fuel. Even they use train, push, they use fossil fuel, right? So these are all contributors to the environment depletion. And shipbuilding also is evolving. Just imagine, shipbuilding involve welding of metals. Welding in your the welding activities is not welding your building house gate or whatever, right? It's welding the ship's components. You just imagine ship consists of components of metal that been welded together along the way, right? So just imagine the amount of welding activities and the amount of smoke come out from the welding activities. It's very dangerous. It's very toxic. The smoke from welding, right? Yang orang pakai apa? Pakai mask tu tunjuk welding. You know welding or not? Welding kan welding ambil besi semua welding keluar asap bercahaya tu kan. To welding lah. So the welding activities will give will produce smoke. They want to stick together the metal. They produce smoke. That smoke is very noxious, very toxic. So don't breathe in the smoke. It's dangerous, right? That's why you need to wear safety apparels before you do welding, right? But in Malaysian people are very brave, very very strong. They don't need any apparels. They just need apparel for their eyes only, right? For breathing, they don't need. Actually, you need to have to close your nose, so that you don't breathe the gas that come out from the welding. It is very dangerous. But people take lightly, because there's still not many activities involved. But when you build a ship, there's many, and this also gas will go emitted to the air and it will affect, right, the environment there. Actually, the environment in near the area, right. And other ancillary services like bunkering, right, other services of repairing, anti-fouling, right. So all those things. The ships, a bit statistics on the ships passing through Strait of Malacca, and then this one will get more and more. This one is 2007 ago. It's 70,000 passes through the Strait of Malacca. You should imagine, 70,000 per year. Divide by 360, how many per days, right? Okay, and all chemical pollutions also contribute to the maritime seawater contaminations, right? Discharging. This is not. This is about the seawater. Discharging of tank washings. Tank washing maksudnya septic tanks, because in ships they have septic tanks. And then this tank need to be clean. And how when they clean, where they throw the water inside the sea, right? Where they want to throw away the cleaning water, keep it and throw it at the port. No, they throw it in the sea, right? This also maybe we have a later on convention on that. You can throw the water, but you need to process it first. You need to filter it first. Then you can throw. Usually it's that way, but some ships they don't have, because to install the filtration process is cost. So to make it easy, you throw away without people knowing, because you are in the middle of the sea. Nobody knows except the crew itself. They will report it, but definitely they will report it, right? Because they're working on that. They make a living from that, right? So if they report, they have no job, right? So these are the things. Sometimes all ship need to have a filtration system that will filter everything that before they throw it in the sea. But this system need to be maintained. To install the system is cost. To maintain also is a cost. But some ships they install but they don't maintain. It's only not working well. So they just ignore and just throw it away in the sea. That is very bad. Spills by oil spill and illegal discharges. There are many discharges by the ship actually. Many discharges, even for the cruise ships. Maybe for personal yacht, personal yacht. So they want to save cost, they just discharge in the sea. One ship is okay, two ships is okay, but you're talking about 70,000 ships, 60,000 ships daily. Just imagine the impact to the sea water. Now that's why you can see suddenly the whale, the whale, dolphin, big fish, stranded, dying on the beach with no reason. but definitely there's a reason, lah, right? But physically, we cannot see any reason why. Suddenly, they're dying on the sea, lay down on the sea because of this. Because of this, that's why some area of tourism they avoid all this kind of activities, meaning that no ship can go through, no boat can go through this area because they're afraid of that, right? People throw away waste or discharge without illegal discharge, without proper filtrations, right? Okay, so you can see all this on the slide. These are the, for example, the impact of the oil spill on the beaches along the coastal waters of affected countries. This is very bad. I've told you, right? There's bunker, the fossil bunker for ship is very thick, right? So you see, they're stuck at the sea, at the beach, stuck on the beach, in the sand, stuck on the stones, on the boulder stones, small stone along the beach. You can see how it will affect the beauty of the beach, right? Beauty. If you come to the beach, you have like this. It's surely you don't want to come anymore, right? To the beach. And what happened to the hotels here? Right? What happened to the fishermen around this area? Right? So it's very bad. Oil spill, and it's very tiring. It's very what do you call it? Process to clear up the debris of oil spill. It's very hard work and never ending story, right? uh, to clean one by one, to scope out and throw it away one by one scope each. Just imagine the whole stretch, how long it takes. Uh, just imagine that. So it's very great, the impact of oil spill. That's why IMO are very serious in controlling to avoid oil spill. The other pollution is ballast water that I've told just now, right? And maintain the stability balance of the water of the ships, right? Composed of water and stone sediments and thousands of living species. From because they take the water from the sea, and the sea water there's many species, there are many microorganisms, living species, from plankton to many other microorganisms we cannot see from our eyes. Then also many sediment and stone they put inside, right? So the ballast water will stay in the ships quite sometimes, right? And when they need to change the ballast, they discharge it at a different environment. What do you mean by different environment is that the environment, the ballast water environment in the tank, in the ship is different as compared to the natural environment outside in the seawater. So they call the ballast water, they call it the non-indigenous species. Non-indigenous, because indigenous species is in the seawater, but in the ballast water is non-indigenous, not natural from the sea. It's from the ballast water that been kept in the tank without the sun or whatever, and this microorganism has changed to be an indigenous species. Initially, maybe they are plankton, but when it comes, they sit in the ballast tank without sun, without proper oxygen level whatsoever. They've changed to other indigenous species. Some of the species are very dangerous, right? And then when this ballast water released out to the sea, they will invade. They invade the species in the seawater, the original natural species in the seawater. They will invade because they are more powerful, because they develop themselves to they mutate themselves to other things, right? Because of the environment there in the ballast tank. When they release and to have a new when they release the ballast water and intake a new one, the released ballast water is full of non-indigenous, and this non-indigenous will invade the indigenous species of the microorganisms in the sea, right? And then what happened is that they will disrupt the natural order of its ecology, of the what
Sir?
ecology of the
Sir,
yeah.
sorry to disturb. It's already 4 to 7.
Okay, thank you. So we continue. Okay, we continue on Wednesday.